In a time of unprecedented turbulence in the Catholic Church, the sacred and the scandalous collide. From fiery homilies to controversial books, and from clandestine declarations to open defiance, a new wave of clergy has crossed the line of communion, some cast out, others dismissed. Today, we dive into 10 recent cases of excommunicated or removed Catholic clergy, each a flashpoint in a church struggling to preserve unity amid internal dissent. Number 1. Father Natale Sant'Onoceto, Italy, January 2025. Reason: publicly declared Pope Francis an antipope, asserting that Pope Benedict XVI's resignation was invalid. Outcome: automatically excommunicated, lati sententiae, for schism under Canon 751 and 1364 Section 1. Details: this case erupted during a homily in which Father Sant'Onoceto, then serving in the Diocese of Asareel, stunned parishioners by announcing that the See of Peter was empty and had been since the resignation of Pope Benedict XVI in 2013. He went on to claim that all papal acts under Pope Francis were null and void, including appointments, canonizations, and doctrinal teachings. His statements echoed a growing but fringe movement known as Benevacantism, which holds that Benedict XVI remained the true pope until his death. Following the homily, a video of his sermon circulated widely on Italian Catholic social media, prompting public outrage and confusion among the faithful. The Diocese of Asareel quickly released a statement declaring that Father Sant'Onoceto had automatically excommunicated himself and was immediately suspended from all clerical duties. Canon law experts noted that such a pronouncement, especially made from the pulpit, constitutes formal and public schism, a canonical crime punishable by excommunication. In interviews with local news outlets, parishioners described the event as unsettling and deeply divisive. The Vatican did not issue a separate decree, as the excommunication was considered lati sententiae, that is, incurred automatically by the act itself. Some traditionalist groups voiced support for Sant'Onoceto, citing his courage to speak the truth, while others warned that such rhetoric undermines ecclesial unity and sows confusion among the laity. As of early 2025, Sant'Onoceto had not recanted, and his case remains emblematic of a broader tension between segments of the Church loyal to Francis and those who remain skeptical of his pontificate. Number 2. Father Ramon Guidetti, Italy, January 2024. Reason: during a homily, called Pope Francis a usurper and denied his legitimacy. Outcome: incurred automatic excommunication for committing a schismatic act. Details: in a dramatic and widely reported Sunday Mass at his parish in Tuscany, Father Ramon Guidetti stunned the faithful when he openly declared Pope Francis to be a fraudulent occupier of the chair of Peter. His impassioned address cited what he described as doctrinal errors and betrayals of tradition under Francis's papacy, particularly regarding interfaith dialogue and liturgical reforms. He accused the Pope of leading the Church into apostasy and warned that faithful Catholics must resist and not follow this illegitimate leader. The homily was live-streamed and quickly gained traction online, particularly within traditionalist Catholic circles. The Diocese of Livorno responded within 48 hours, announcing that Guidetti had placed himself outside the communion of the Church and had therefore incurred lati sententiae excommunication. According to canon lawyers consulted by Italian news media, Guidetti's public renunciation of papal legitimacy, especially from the pulpit, constitutes schism under Canon 751. As with similar recent cases, the Vatican did not issue a formal declaration but confirmed that the act itself carried canonical penalties. Despite the censure, Father Guidetti remained defiant, appearing in a YouTube interview days later where he called upon other priests to wake up and resist the dictatorship of false mercy. His case has since been cited as further evidence of rising clerical dissent, particularly among clergy aligned with pre-Vatican II liturgical and theological views. Number 3. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, Italy, July 2024. Reason: refused to recognize the Pope's authority and rejected Vatican II as heretical. Outcome: formally excommunicated for schism. Details: once a respected apostolic nuncio to the United States and a key Vatican diplomat, Archbishop Vigano became a controversial figure after releasing a 2018 letter accusing Pope Francis and other church leaders of covering up sexual abuse. In the years that followed, Vigano's public statements became increasingly radical. He denounced the reforms of the Second Vatican Council as heretical, described Pope Francis as an illegitimate pope, and even called for the establishment of an alternative hierarchy faithful to true Catholic tradition. His rhetoric intensified in 2023 and 2024, as he began regularly publishing essays and appearing in ultra-traditionalist online broadcasts. In July 2024, the Vatican's Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith formally declared Vigano excommunicated for the crime of schism, citing his explicit refusal of submission to the Pope and his public rejection of Vatican II. The declaration emphasized that he had been given ample opportunity to recant but refused. Vigano responded defiantly, issuing a statement claiming he was being punished for defending the immutable faith and asserting that the current Roman authorities had fallen into apostasy. His supporters continue to promote him as a prophetic figure, while the mainstream church regards his excommunication as a necessary step to preserve ecclesial unity in the face of open defiance. Number 4. Father Fernando Maria Cornet, Italy, November 2024. Reason: authored the controversial book Habemus Antipapam? Questioning the validity of Pope Francis's election outcome, laicized by the Archdiocese of Sassari. Details: Father Cornet, a diocesan priest from Sardinia, ignited theological controversy in late 2024 with the self-publication of his book Habemus Antipapam. In it, he laid out a detailed argument that Pope Francis's 2013 election was canonically invalid due to alleged irregularities and behind-the-scenes manipulation by members of the so-called St. Gallen Mafia, a term used by some to refer to a group of progressive bishops said to have influenced the conclave. Cornet asserted that the conclave violated key norms set forth in Universi Dominici Gregis, the apostolic constitution governing papal elections. The book quickly spread among traditionalist Catholic media outlets and was praised in some reactionary circles as a bold exposé. However, canon lawyers and theologians in the Vatican and Italy condemned it as reckless, unsubstantiated, and a direct attack on the unity of the Church. The Archdiocese of Sassari launched a canonical investigation, during which Cornet refused to recant or submit to ecclesiastical correction. By November 2024, Archbishop John Franco Saba formally announced that Father Cornet had been laicized, a rare but serious disciplinary measure stripping him of clerical status. Though not a formal excommunication, laicization effectively removes him from all priestly ministry and bars him from presenting himself as a Catholic cleric. Cornet responded by claiming he was a hamartor of the truth, vowing to continue his mission through independent online platforms. The case underscores growing tensions within the Church over papal authority and doctrinal fidelity, with Cornet becoming a symbolic figure for Catholics who view the current papacy with suspicion or hostility. Number 5. Father Giorgio Maria Fair, OCD, Italy, November 2024. Reason: posted a video alleging heresies by Pope Francis and demanded a new conclave outcome, dismissed from the Discalced Carmelite order. Details: Father Fair, a prominent voice among Italian traditionalist clergy, triggered controversy after releasing a 45-minute YouTube video in which he accused Pope Francis of teaching blatant heresies, and called for a new papal conclave to replace him. In the video, which quickly went viral in conservative Catholic circles, Fair challenged the Pope's teachings on interreligious dialogue, climate change, and the inclusion of LGBTQ individuals in the Church's pastoral care. He argued that these represented a departure from the perennial magisterium of the Church and warned that faithful Catholics were being led astray by a false shepherd. The Discalced Carmelite order issued a statement condemning the video as scandalous and gravely divisive, announcing Father Fair's immediate suspension pending canonical review. Within 2 weeks, he was officially dismissed from the order, a rare and severe penalty typically reserved for priests deemed to be in grave disobedience or who pose a serious threat to ecclesial unity. Though not formally excommunicated, Fair's dismissal means he can no longer exercise any priestly faculties or claim affiliation with the Carmelite order. He later gave interviews to traditionalist Catholic platforms claiming he was persecuted for speaking the truth plainly. Vatican officials, however, underscored that his public accusations and call for an illicit conclave constituted a breach of ecclesial communion. Fair's case has since become emblematic of a rising faction within the Church calling for a re-evaluation of Francis's legitimacy. A movement often fueled by digital media and fringe ecclesial networks operating outside Vatican oversight. Number 6. 10 Poor Clares nuns, Spain, June 2024. Reason: involved in a property dispute with the Archbishop of Burgos, aligned with a schismatic group. Outcome: officially excommunicated by the Archbishop. Details: in a highly unusual case involving a cloistered religious community, 10 Poor Clares nuns from the monastery of Belorado in northern Spain were declared excommunicated in June 2024 after defying ecclesiastical authority and aligning themselves with a known schismatic group. The conflict began with a dispute over property rights between the nuns and the Archdiocese of Burgos, centered around control of monastery land and assets. However, the situation escalated dramatically when the sisters publicly renounced the authority of the local bishop and declared their allegiance to an excommunicated ex-Carmelite priest who claimed to be the legitimate pope. In a formal statement posted online, the nuns accused the institutional church of apostasy and modernism and declared their intent to form a new religious association faithful to the true Catholic faith. The declaration included strong denunciations of Vatican II and of Pope Francis's magisterium, leading church authorities to classify their actions as a clear act of schism. Archbishop Mario Iceta of Burgos responded by issuing a canonical decree of excommunication, stating that the sisters had gravely violated communion with the Roman Catholic Church. The decree followed canonical warnings and attempted mediation, all of which were rebuffed by the sisters. The case drew national media attention in Spain, with commentators expressing shock at the radicalization of a contemplative order typically associated with humility and obedience. Vatican officials emphasized the seriousness of the excommunication and warned that affiliation with schismatic movements is incompatible with consecrated life. As of early 2025, the excommunicated nuns remained in the monastery despite pressure from the Archdiocese to vacate, insisting they were defending the true faith. Number 7. Father Michał Woznicki, SDB, Poland, September 2023. Reason: refused communion with the Pope and the Roman Church. Outcome: excommunicated. Details: a former member of the Salesians of Don Bosco, Father Michał Woznicki's path toward excommunication was marked by years of escalating confrontation with both his religious order and the diocesan hierarchy. Woznicki first drew attention in 2018 after being expelled from the Salesians for insubordination, but he refused to vacate his residence in a religious house in Poznan. From that location, he continued to celebrate unauthorized Tridentine Masses and deliver live-streamed homilies filled with condemnations of Pope Francis, Vatican II, and the Polish episcopate. He asserted that the post-conciliar church had betrayed the faith and that the Pope had led Catholics into heresy. His refusal to acknowledge the authority of the Pope and the local bishop led to a series of disciplinary actions, culminating in his excommunication in September 2023 for the canonical crime of schism. The decree, issued by the Archbishop of Poznan, noted that Woznicki had persisted in acts of grave disobedience, illicit sacramental ministry, and public rejection of ecclesial authority. Despite warnings and canonical admonitions, Woznicki refused to comply, asserting that he was upholding true Catholic tradition. The priest's defiance earned him a following among radical traditionalist Catholics in Poland, where he became something of a folk hero to those skeptical of the modern church. Civil authorities became involved due to property disputes, and attempts were made to evict him from the religious house he had illegally occupied. As of 2025, Woznicki continues to operate independently, celebrating illicit masses and claiming to be a true priest in resistance to what he calls the conciliar church. Number 8. Father Anthony Odiong, USA, November 2024. Reason: accused of multiple sexual assaults and fathering children with victims. Outcome: facing criminal charges, church disciplinary actions pending. Details: a Nigerian-born priest serving in the Diocese of Biloxi, Mississippi. Father Anthony Odiong was removed from ministry and placed under investigation following explosive allegations that he had sexually assaulted multiple women and fathered children with at least 2 of them. The case came to light after civil lawsuits were filed in late 2024, accusing Odiong of exploiting his spiritual authority and manipulating women under his pastoral care. According to court filings and media reports, the allegations include coercion, psychological manipulation, and abuse spanning several years. One accuser claimed Odiong presented himself as a spiritual guide while secretly engaging in sexual relationships with vulnerable parishioners. DNA testing reportedly confirmed his paternity in at least one case. The Diocese of Biloxi issued a statement expressing shock and sorrow over the revelations, announcing that Odiong had been suspended from all public ministry pending the outcome of legal proceedings and a canonical investigation. Bishop Louis Kaiman affirmed the Church's commitment to transparency and pastoral care for victims, while also urging due process. While no formal canonical penalties have yet been imposed, canon lawyers suggest that Odion could face laicization if found guilty of grave moral offenses under church law, particularly if abuse of power or spiritual coercion is established. The case has reignited debate over clerical celibacy, the handling of abuse accusations, and the cultural challenges faced by dioceses with international clergy. Odion has denied all wrongdoing through legal counsel, but the civil and canonical processes remain ongoing. As of early 2025, he awaits trial while church authorities continue their own investigation. Number 9. Reverend Mother Teresa Agnes Gerlach, USA, November 2024. Reason: confessed to an online relationship with a priest, violating her chastity vows. Outcome: the Vatican dissolved the monastery, nuns were dismissed. Details: in a case that shocked many within the contemplative religious world, Reverend Mother Teresa Agnes Gerlach, the prioress of the Arlington Carmel in Texas, was found to have engaged in an inappropriate, long-term online relationship with a priest. The revelations came after internal concerns were raised and church authorities initiated an apostolic visitation, a formal investigation, into the conduct of the monastery's leadership and overall governance. According to reports, Gerlach admitted to the relationship, which included emotionally intimate exchanges and spiritual manipulation, conducted over video calls and messages. Though the relationship did not appear to involve physical contact, canon lawyers classified it as a grave violation of her perpetual vows, particularly chastity and obedience. The investigation also uncovered serious dysfunction within the community, including accusations of mismanagement, coercive leadership practices, and resistance to oversight from diocesan and Vatican officials. As a result, the Vatican's Dicastery for Institutes of Consecrated Life ordered the dissolution of the Arlington Carmel in November 2024. All remaining nuns were formally released from their vows and dispersed to other communities, though some reportedly expressed concern over the severity of the Vatican's action. Gerlach herself was removed from religious life and ordered to live in seclusion for a period of prayer and penance. The case drew national attention not only for its scandalous nature but also because the Arlington Carmel had gained a reputation in some conservative Catholic circles for its strict adherence to traditional Carmelite customs. The fallout from the dissolution has reignited debate over authority, transparency, and the vulnerability of cloistered communities to internal dysfunction. Number 10. Father Frank Pavoni, USA, 2022. Reason: removed for the blasphemous social media posts and defiance of ecclesiastical authority, including posting images of aborted fetuses. Outcome: defrocked, currently seeking reinstatement under a future pope. Details: perhaps one of the most publicly polarizing cases of recent years, Father Frank Pavoni, founder of the pro-life organization Priests for Life, was laicized by the Vatican in December 2022. The decision was communicated without the right to appeal and cited his persistent disobedience to his diocesan bishop, along with inappropriate conduct on social media. Most notably, Pavoni had posted graphic images of aborted fetuses on a consecrated altar and used inflammatory language in political commentary, especially during U.S. election cycles. The Vatican deemed his actions blasphemous and incompatible with the dignity of the priesthood. Despite numerous warnings and restrictions placed on his ministry by multiple bishops, Pavoni continued to act independently, often invoking his mission to end abortion as justification for his confrontational style. In a video posted after the announcement, Pavoni stated that he had no intention of stepping back from public ministry, saying, "You can't cancel a calling." He maintains an active presence online and has received support from prominent conservative Catholics and U.S. politicians, including some bishops who questioned the severity of the Vatican's action. Although laicized, Pavoni has expressed hope that a future pope may reinstate him to the priesthood. He continues to speak at pro-life rallies, campaign events, and religious conferences, positioning himself as a martyr for the pro-life cause. Critics, however, argue that his actions represent a breakdown of ecclesial discipline and a dangerous politicization of the priesthood. These 10 cases signal a pivotal shift in the Catholic Church's modern landscape. At the heart of many is a theological and ecclesial rupture over papal legitimacy, Vatican II, and moral discipline. A growing number of clergy are breaking communion not over mere dissent, but through actions that, in canon law, constitute schism or grave scandal. This wave of excommunications, automatic or formal, reflects a tightening grip on ecclesial unity by Pope Francis's Vatican. But beyond the canonical language lies a church in crisis, battling ideological fragmentation, social media radicalization, and internal polarization. Will these disciplinary actions restore unity or deepen the divide? Stay with Sacred Pulse Times as we continue to explore the stories shaking the pillars of the faith.